What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas back with you. It's a Wednesday night, 10 o'clock on the dot. Time for another live stream to sit back, shoot the breeze about the weather. Man, another active night. The other side of the state. Last night at this time, we were watching the storms kind of roll out the East Coast into the Atlantic. Now we're watching them fizzle out just west of Orlando and closer to I-75. We are going to take a look at that. Of course, the title of this, if you are just open up that push alert or saw it on YouTube or on TikTok, we're going to break down the Colorado State University outlook when it comes to hurricanes. They issue their update in April, and then we get another update in June. And then as the season goes on, as more data becomes available, obviously you're going to know more stuff from a forecasting standpoint. The better the prediction is going to turn out in all likelihood. So we're going to talk about that going forward as well. Storms still going on. We're going to take a look at where they are. At least they're now just some downpours in the mix. We're also going to break that down. And then, of course, we're going to have the Colorado State updated hurricane outlook for the 2025 hurricane season. That, of course, was just, again, released earlier this morning. Before we get going tonight, we're taking a live look in rainy Windermere tonight above my head. These live looks are courtesy of WeatherStem. Below me, a little more of a downpour going on in Wildwood back in Sumter County. Shout out in Sumter County. Thank you guys for all of the likes. Hey, Tasha, good to see you again on TikTok. Thank you a ton for being here with us and everybody tuning in on TikTok or YouTube. Just want to say again, we're coming at you live from the Digital Weather Center at News 6 at 10 o'clock. We get together, we hang out every Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. to talk about the weather, what's going on now, what's going in the future. Sometimes we stay on topic, sometimes we don't. I always say you guys steer the ship here. So whatever you want to talk about, again, post in the comments and we can break all that stuff down. I come with a structure. It's just sometimes, most of the time, it gets off the rails. And that's okay because we're talking about the weather. All right, before we get into some of the tropical stuff, I wanted to show you this. This video came in, and if you, nope, that's not the video coming in. Let me get back. This is the one that I wanted to show you. Check out this ridiculous video here. This came in from around the Lady Lake area into the villages, and this was submitted on our Pin It section of the News 6 weather app. There's a couple of ways to submit these photos. Click orlando.com/pins on the free News 6 weather app, and then that little QR code, that's going to take you to clickorlando.com/pins. Anyway, as I ramble on, look closely at the screen. Not too close so that you're hurting your eyes, but look at that spin. You can see the spin of that first cloud in the foreground. I think the video stopped. That's all I have. So I'm going to play it again. But you can see that subtle spin. That is what we call a wall cloud. And we see this happen on occasion before a funnel cloud drops or a tornado. Now, I want to be clear, there were no reports of tornadoes. There may have been a funnel cloud. I did get an email saying that someone spotted one. I've not seen the video for myself, and the Weather Service hasn't confirmed it. But certainly it's plausible because I'm seeing that, and that is no doubt a wall cloud. You can see the rotation in the clouds. Not a tornado day by any means. We didn't put anybody on alert for the potential for tornadoes because the dynamic setup, as we call it, just was not right, thankfully, for that kind of severe weather setup. What happens a lot of times is you get the East Coast sea breeze coming in, you get the West Coast sea breeze coming in, they collide. There's a bunch of shifting winds going on in there and some storm cell mergers, and that can change the storm direction and storm behavior for a short time and get the storms to spin a little bit. And that's what's going on here. Of course, even if it's a low tornado day, when the sea breeze is involved, you always have to be on guard for what we call a quick spin up funnel or a tornado, just because of the erratic nature of how these sea breezes collide. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you here this. Let me take the radar picture back and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let me get back into my actual radar mode so I can show you. We're going to go back about 6 hours from now. Is that, let's see, yeah, 6 o'clock. That would be 3. So let me back this puppy up. And this is going to be at 4 o'clock. So here's what I'm talking about the sea breezes. So the sea breeze gets going from the heating of the day because land heats up faster than water. Okay. So as we generate the sea breeze, because we have an area of low pressure here and high pressure out over the relatively speaking cooler Atlantic, that's going to cause air to rise here, air to sink out over the water, and then you have to complete the circulation. So this is what we have going on nearly every day in the late spring and early summer. We get this circulation to develop just like that on both coasts. Florida, it's a very odd spot, and that this is really the only spot in the world that this happens. We generate the sea breeze on both coasts and they move in. Because most islands aren't big enough to support something like this. But anyway, that's the sea breeze right here, or the storms, I should say, along the sea breeze. As of 4 o'clock today, this is where the East Coast sea breeze was. So it had marched all the way inland. There's a big Bermuda high way out by Bermuda. It's putting our winds out of the east. So the next couple of days, while we'll be dodging scattered thunderstorms along the I-95 corridor and the beaches, the more likely spot for the bigger stuff and more widespread stuff is going to be, let me change my telestrator color, is going to be right over here on the west side, the Gulf side of Florida. Anyway, so we have at this point East Coast sea breeze, West Coast sea breeze. Let me take this further into the future and note, and this is about the time that we have it happening. We've got storms merging and it's getting kind of convoluted in there. At this point, we have stuff that we call outflow boundaries, the rain cooled air coming out of the storms, making their own boundaries. So we have the sea breeze here. Now we have an outflow boundary here. We have the East Coast sea breeze. So there's a lot of chaos in terms of the storm development out there. And that's how you can get, even on a non-tornado day, a wall cloud that rotates like what we just saw, a funnel cloud potentially drop, and then in the more extreme cases, enough rotation in there for the weather service to issue a tornado warning or maybe even one touchdown for a brief period of time. But that's the way that is, that's what's going on right there. It is going to be the East Coast because of the way the shelf is. If you've ever been on both coasts, you'll know that you can kind of walk way, way out into the into the Gulf side, whereas it's much sharper of a shelf the further you go, the further you go out into the Atlantic on that side as well. Let's see. No more rain today, Melissa. Good evening, Ruthie. Hope you are doing well. All right, let me clear this out. It is 10:08, so already losing time, and I do want to talk about the tropics since I promised that in the title of all of my live stream stuff. So we are going to get right into that. And then if we have time, we're going to come back and talk about some of the local Central Florida stuff. We talked about, I have my note here from last night that we wanted to check in on the drought index, some more positive change on the daily drought index. Today's Wednesday. So yesterday's stuff was obviously Tuesday. That's going to be included in the Thursday. That's going to be included in the Thursday edition of the drought monitor from NOAA and for the United States Department of Agriculture. So this is also real quick, Melissa. So it wasn't 100% shot for rain. That was a little high. In my opinion, I think it should have been at 20%. I don't know why that said 60, but nonetheless, it's a 60% shot. So you have a 40% chance to stay completely dry. So that's what that means, those rainfall percentages. It's not the aerial coverage. If you were to open up the radar and look at that, it is, if you walk outside at any given spot, you have a 60% shot to get wet. Hey, Kim, good to see you again. Daisy, what's going on? Welcome to the live stream this evening. Okay, so I keep on promising this, so let me get right to the hurricane outlook. Is everybody interested in that? I have it loaded in the show. I just need to find out where I put it. Let me pull this over. Okay. So here is their forecast, and it didn't change. Seldom do we see a change from the one that they issue in April and the one that they talk about in June. What becomes a little more clear, though, are some of the sea surface temperature anomalies. And that's kind of, at this point anyway, we have a better idea of some of the steering currents, and we have a better idea of what maybe the analog years are going to be and how the sea surface temperature pattern correlates to what the season could potentially bring. Regardless, it's just a forecast. And right now, what I'm showing you are just numbers with no real context as to where these storms are going to go. Now, Colorado State is one of the forecast entities that does predict landfall percentages. I shouldn't say landfall percentages, it comes within 50 miles of the coast. Um, so that's what the next graphic I'm going to show you is the percentage for Florida to see a storm come within 50 miles of the coastline. So the forecast that they released today, 17 named storms, 9 of those becoming hurricanes, 4 of those becoming major hurricanes. In April, they said the same thing. So again, anticlimactic. We don't want to see this spike up because that means that they're seeing something else that would argue for either more. I would have liked these numbers to go down. But again, the season's just getting started, and thankfully it is quiet. We'll take a look at that in just one second. Kim brings up a good point when she says send them to Colorado. You might think it's weird that we show Colorado State when we're obviously in Florida and they are obviously not impacted by tropical systems at all. They might get some Pacific moisture surging in from a dying tropical system out on the Pacific side. But they started these forecasts back in 1985, I think. Dr. Bill Gray it's either 85 or 95. I think it's one of the fives, and it was either in the 80s or 90s. It's escaping me right now. But Dr. Bill Gray started this, and they were kind of some of the pioneers into this seasonal forecasting. So they are one of the most well-respected entities for releasing the seasonal outlook before the season starts and then updating it several times as the season rolls on again, as we see things play out, how weather systems play out, and all that. So that's the deal with that. An average season, by the way, is 14 storms, 7 of those becoming hurricanes, 3 becoming major. Okay, so now and I just want to, I don't want anyone to freak out when I show you this, okay? Like that's not my intention here as I pull this up. This is the Colorado State forecast for the probabilities now of a named storm coming within 50 miles. Okay, so the deal with this is they are saying that there's a 92% chance that a named storm is going to pass within 50 miles of Florida. Now, that can stay offshore 50 miles, and man, I hope it does. They're also giving a 65% chance of a hurricane passing within 50 miles of the state of Florida. I want to show you, or I want to talk about some of the context with this. On average, Florida's average in any given year is 86% to have a storm pass within 50 miles. So it's up higher than average. And then for a hurricane, that average is, let me just double check, that is 56%. So that's also up. Above the climatological average. So I wanted to add that context in there that it is normally high every single year to get a storm to pass within 50 miles of Florida. Let me add my telestration bar into this real quick because I want to do some John Madden telestrating. There it is coming up. One of if my bar is going to light up. If not, I might just have to pull up the radar. All right. Oh, there we go. Okay. One of the, in my opinion, one of the what could be popular tracks this year that these storms take, I think, and again, this is just me, I think it's going to be like this. I think the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas are really going to have to watch out. Um, but I do think it's going to be like this. Now, so I think on the East Coast side, there's going to be storms that get a little too close for comfort. Obviously, I cannot guarantee that they stay offshore or that they come in at this stage in the game. There's nothing out there. Just with some of the analog years and some of the climate modeling that we have, it's painting a picture that that could be an active track. In an ENSO neutral year, Florida's a little dicey. Storms, I think we might have some storms threatening later on into the year. The other active storm track that I think is going to be something like this, and again, this one has kind of been way too common lately. Fire off something in the Western Caribbean, go up and hit the Gulf Coast of Florida. So, in my personal opinion, those are the two kind of Florida-esque tracks that we're going to have to watch for. I'm in no way, shape, or form guaranteeing that's going to happen, or it's just some of the like years, those analog years that we often talk about here, are painting that there's a higher than normal shot that we're going to have storms at least getting close. Now, with that said, there's absolutely nothing out there at all in the short term. And on a positive note, let me get to my tropical development satellite for right now. It's I think it's going to be active, but not as active as last year, and maybe just a touch above average. So I don't. When you say very active, I don't think it's going to be very active. But then in the same breath, I just want to make sure that it doesn't matter if it's active or not based on the number of storms, unless the storm hits you. And I'll always go back to the Hurricane Andrew example in 1992. We didn't have the A storm until August. It was a very, very below average year in terms of name storms. But tell that to the people of South Florida who got hit by a Category 5 Hurricane Andrew and changed the state and changed the way we prepare for hurricanes forevermore. So that's always what I want to caution about using those numbers that I just showed you as a benchmark of how crazy or not crazy the season's going to be. Because even if there's a one storm and that one storm is a major hurricane that hits you, it doesn't have to be 2004 where everything seems to hit you. But so that's what I want to point out there. If you guys are just tuning in tonight, we are live on TikTok. Shout out to everybody tuning in on TikTok. Give it a thumbs up. If you're just finding us for the first time on YouTube, welcome to the live stream. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. every evening. If you like chatting about the weather and getting weather information, hit that subscribe button for me. Same on TikTok. If you are new to the stream, hit that follow button. Throw some hearts our way and the coins and the Tasha sent a rose. I'm new to the TikTok thing, okay? We were talking about this last night. So thanks for sending the coins and the diamonds and all that stuff. I appreciate it. Hey, Little Rock, Arkansas tuning in tonight. Thank you for coming all the way from Little Rock, Arkansas to join our 10 p.m. live stream. So that is that. I want to end, well, I don't want to end the tropical. I mean, I would love to end the tropical stuff. Let me I was pulling up the satellite, and as I normally do, I get sidetracked by something else. So here is the deal. I love showing this map when there's that big no new development next 7 days thing right smack dab in the middle of the screen. There is absolutely nothing. There is one kind of juicy wave, but even that, there is that around the Lesser Antilles. It's a tropical wave, not expected to develop. I'm going to get sidetracked again because our Little Rock friend asked to check something for him real quick, and he said he heard some loud roars, kind of scared. So let's go out to Little Rock. Let's take a little bit of a detour. It's not the weather, that's for sure. So the roar you heard, it might be an escape thing from the zoo because it's not the weather. So you're good to go. All right, back to the tropics. The Eastern Pacific is still popping right now. There's still two more storms highlighted for development. They have four name storms now, and they might get two more. So it's crazy how wild it is out there. That entity forcing everything up looks like, just like last year, is going to get stuck in the Pacific side and never really have the opportunity to come over here. And that is fine by me. We've been talking about that for a while, that most of the models, all of the models that have shown any kind of significant development in the Gulf have been trash. We showed you the receipts on the live stream, if you will, of people just showing a major hurricane into Florida and those YouTube thumbnails and stuff like that. And we told you it wasn't going to happen. The GFS, show of hands, who likes to look at computer models when it comes to hurricane season or whatever? Hit the thumbs up button on TikTok or on YouTube if you frequent the models. I like to know who likes to do that because throughout the course of the season as well, we're going to be checking in on how the models are performing when there's something out there because inevitably there's going to be something out there. We're just going to hope that it stays out at sea and does not impact anybody. But one of the main biases of the GFS, and I do like the model. The GFS does do well. It gets a bad rap, but it does do well. It just struggles mightily with systems that are trying to develop in the Western Caribbean and Southern Gulf. It is always too fast with development, and it is always too aggressive. So we knew on May 30th when we were on here doing our live stream that when everybody else was like going bonkers, ape you know what, with those hurricane models, that it just wasn't going to happen. Part of it was negligence, I think, and people just not understanding what the model was showing. And I think that there was what I would consider criminal to get people in a tizzy because I posted on our Just Weather YouTube page. And if you are a fan of tracking the weather, if you go to, let me put this in the, I think I can put this in the thing. I have a YouTube page. It really focuses on, it's not let me tag it, but it's called Just Weather. We have over 100,000 subscribers now. It's really awesome. But we talk about the weather on a more national, tropical, worldwide scale than just the Central Florida portion. So if you like the weather and talking about that and really getting into it, go like that page for me or subscribe to that page. But I had a post again that I think it's criminal that people post those models. Now, maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic, but I'm looking out for the people. I mean, that was geared towards an area that got nailed by Helene last year. And I'm sorry, like, if you lost your house to flooding from Helene on the Gulf Coast of Florida, or certainly in Milton or in Ian over the last couple of years, yeah, you don't want to be seeing that stuff. So that's why I'm a big proponent about that. You're never obviously going to get that here. And that's why we like to stream live to make sure that you guys are getting credible scientific meteorological information. All of the stuff that we give you is based on science and meteorology. So I'll probably say that a million more times this year because inevitably there is going to be those all that stuff. So CW Stidham asks, are we going into an El Nino? We are not, and that is part of the reason why for the slightly above average forecast, because El Nino is the one that tends to knock it down. We're going to be in what we call ENSO neutral. So not in a La Nina, not in an El Nino. We also kind of jokingly call it La Nada. Because there's nothing. It's right in the middle of the oscillation. It's probably going to be slightly on the cool side over there in the Pacific, but still, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to really, I think, supercharge the season like what we would have if we did have a straight up moderate La Nina or something like that, like we had last year. Kim is asking, why does it seem that the European spaghetti models are usually the closest in accuracy? Am I wrong there? No, you're not. It's certainly more popular. Now, there's different situations for each model. The European last year struggled like crazy early on in the season. It had Beryl, for instance, going into the Yucatan and then kind of like dying into Mexico. In reality, the GFS had it um, much more correct by sending it to Texas. So the European people think that the European is king because the Euro nailed Sandy. That's where the love affair came about with the European because it was the only one for a time that picked up on the dip in the jet stream that grabbed Sandy out of the Atlantic and slammed it in. Ow, I just hit something. And then slammed it in to the New England coastline and did all that damage in the Northeast. So ever since then, it's that recency bias thing that the Euro is king. The Euro has done better for sure, but not always. So it's just important to realize um, that you always have to look at multiple, even if the model that you love is, even if the model that you love and you trust, always have to look at things, how it's handling things in real time, and how you think it's going to be handled in the future. So all of that stuff. So Chris, he's asking about El Nada no wind shear. It's not that there should be lighter wind shear. I don't want to say no wind shear, but it typically when you have a cool neutral, it's going to start to kind of have the lower wind shear. It's really the El Nino that starts to have the wind shear ripping across the Atlantic and helps to saw off the tops of the storms, if you will. And that really begins to help us out um, on that front. Here is kind of the last thing I'll say since we were talking about the tropics and kind of the outlook. One of the things that I know, believe me, I know this is coming because it happened last year with the slow start relative to after Beryl. Um, I'm hitting the key. I don't know why. Okay, I guess I have to do it on the screen. I was hitting the key to make it go. There it is. It said, "Oh my gosh, this forecast is a bust." I've actually already had comments on YouTube that it's a bust. Okay, there's nothing I want more than to have a bust this hurricane season. That would be awesome. We need a break in Florida. I know a lot of people in hurricane prone areas need a break. Mental health wise and finance wise and all that stuff. Believe me, I love it. The reality is that it's supposed to be quiet this time of the year. It's the recency bias thing again, where we've had now so many years in a row where we've started the season like end of May, early June comes, and we're going nuts already with named storms. It hasn't been the case last year, and this year certainly. The average first name storm, by the way, in the Atlantic doesn't normally come around until June 20th. So that just gives you some perspective that, again, we're not really behind schedule. I do think we are going to be behind schedule because there's a very teeny tiny window for development in the extreme southern Bay of Campeche or extreme western Gulf in like the next 10 to 14 days. That window is small, and I think that window is going to close quick. If we don't get that, we might go until the end of July, if not even a little bit longer, without a named storm. So I'm fairly confident that the Atlantic is going to go like really, really asleep for an extended period of time if the Atlantic, hopefully, misses this window of opportunity. Alrighty, guys, I'm up against it. I have about 30 seconds to sign off. I want to thank you guys for tuning in again. Clickorlando.com/hurricane is going to be your one-stop shop for everything. Sign up for my Tropics Watch newsletter. That's going to be at clickorlando.com/newsletters. If you're watching this on a big screen, you can take your smartphone right up to that QR code and scan it with the camera lens, or head to clickorlando.com/newsletters. Put your email address. We have a bunch of newsletters here at New 6, so just scroll down and find Tropics Watch. You can put your email in the little sign-up section. It is free. I visit your inbox every single Monday evening or as necessary, and we break down the tropics. And we do it again with science and meteorology and none of those scare tactics that keep my blood pressure up high. Um, I call us the garbage crew because we take out the trash. Is that too cheesy? I kind of like it though because we're taking out the trash. Have a great night, guys. We will see you in about 28 minutes on News 6 at 11. Catch Ginger, Jamie, and I there. Matt is off. So I'm hanging out with Ginger and Jamie tonight. See you then, 11 o'clock. We're right back here in this chair tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Thank you a ton, guys, for tuning in. I do appreciate it. See you soon.